Head on over to Reasonable TV and you can check out this story, which you will want to watch. I mean, this is good stuff. A man dancing on top of a moving 18-wheeler going down the highway was filming himself doing a little selfie video, maybe doing a little TikTok action. Well, he didn't notice that the truck was going under an underpass. Yeah, he got knocked off. It didn't turn out well. If you want to check out that kind of content, and I know you do, reasonabletv.com, $10 a month. Love to have you subscribe. Love to have you support the channel. It's what we're doing. Because, I mean, this kind of story, come on now. That's worth $10 right there. Thanks for checking it out. Back to our regular scheduled program. Feds reveal motive behind Washington power grid attacks on Christmas Day. Now, these criminals, they're indicating that they ran around and broke into 4 different power grids, used their clippers, they broke in, turned the power off, caused $3 million worth of damage. All of this to rob a nearby business. What do we got going on? Let's check it out. Let's find out. Federal law enforcement authorities revealed the alleged motives behind attacks on 4 power substations in Washington state on Christmas Day that left thousands of people without electricity. That's a crappy thing to do. Let's be honest. This is so selfish. But these criminals don't care, do they? What's interesting to me is that, if they would have gone just a little further north up into like the Seattle area, this is down in, this is more hillbilly country in Pierce County. Think south of Tacoma. It's a little bit more redneck, a little bit more 4x4s, that kind of thing, especially the area that these guys were in doing this. Story says Tacoma. This ain't Tacoma. This is further out, shall we say. So they put in a lot of effort to go break into one business entity, whatever it was. Doesn't say what it was, doesn't say what their real plans were, but that was their motive. Because I was thinking, anytime you hear power grid, you think, well, you think big conspiracy, you think big groups of people that just want anarchy and to shut the system down, and how best to shut the system down than to, break in and, tear apart a power piece of the power grid in one of these power stations. But instead, do we believe this? Do I even believe this? I mean, it seems pretty far-fetched. And there's some other things in this story that weren't fact-checked very well, and I'll tell you why in a second. The 4 substations that were targeted were in the Graham and Elk Plain substations, operated by Tacoma Power, and the Kapowsin and Hemlock substations, operated by Puget Sound Energy, PSE. The damage to just the Tacoma Power substations was estimated to be at least $3 million. Well, I hope they get fined at least that much. They're never going to pay. They're going to do a little bit of time. Well, like I said, if they would have done this just a little further north, well, I mean, are these federal crimes? Are these power stations federally? I know we've got the feds involved, but is this regulated? Maybe it is. It must be. Power must be federal deal, right? On Tuesday, keyboard warriors, let me know in the comments. If you break into a power station, is this a federal charge? On Tuesday, the FBI identified 32-year-old Matthew Greenwood. FBI involved? Yeah, federal Bureau of Investigation. All right. And 40-year-old Jeremy Crahan as the perpetrators of the attacks after analyzing their phone records. Let's see. You guys were there? Oh, yeah. About the same time that one. Oh, yeah. Then you went up there. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's not. Yeah, there's a pattern here. Right? Dumb criminals. One of the Tacoma Power substations caught images of one of the suspects in a pickup truck that was tied to the 2 men. When law enforcement arrested Greenwood and Crahan, they found the same clothing caught on camera and seized 2 unregistered guns, one with a makeshift silencer. They are always running around with either a stolen or an unregistered gun, aren't they? Yeah. I say we make those. I mean, I think it is, punishable up to 10 years in prison, but nobody ever gives out those sentences. I think they should. We're going to give you 10 years for that. And the other one, I think, is 20. So you break in and into into a power facility, you might get up to 20 years. You have a unregistered gun, 10. Let's just give these guys, these dumb criminals, let's give them 40 years. What do you say? I mean, while we're at it, it's just serious. What if you've got some family member of yours on like a dialysis machine? Stuff like that. That's what I always kind of think about. What if somebody's on a breathing apparatus and they don't have backup generator wherever they are? Terrible way to go. Awful way to go. I know there's backups and stuff like that, but I'm just saying, what if? These folks don't care though, do they? They just don't care. So the two men were charged with conspiracy to damage energy facilities and possession of an unregistered firearm. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, conspiracy to attack energy facilities is punishable by up to 20 years in prison. Give them 20 years. Just give it to them. And possession of an unregistered firearm is punishable by up to 10 years in prison. All right, so you got 30 there. Up to, though. They're probably first time breaker enters to the power facility, right? So they're probably just going to get released on their own personal recognizance and told to have a happy day. Who knows? Maybe this is federal. That just won't be the case, but that's what we're seeing in city, right? And prosecutors will ask both men remain detained at the Federal Detention Center at SeaTac. Okay, so this is totally federal. According to the criminal complaint, the reason for the attacks on December 25th, which occurred over a 12-hour period and hundreds of miles apart, was to burglarize a nearby business while the power was out for nearly 15,000 customers in the area. All right, so we got a 12-hour time period. Okay, we know that to be true. Hundreds of miles apart. Now, why would they attack a power facility hundreds of miles apart to break into a local business? Well, they wouldn't. These power facilities are not hundreds of miles apart. They are a dozen miles apart, tops. So this story does make sense. It's just the reporting doesn't. So you got somebody here reporting. Now, I think this is Fox 12 from Oregon. So yeah, this is not southern Washington by any means, but Tacoma, it's not northern Washington either, right? You're on your way. You're on your way down to, you're an hour south of where I am. In Portland is, call it a 3-hour drive from here. So you're on your way, but maybe this reporter just didn't look at a map. I did. I looked at the map on the article here, and what we'll see is, let's scroll down here. Okay, here we are. South Hill. This is Puyallup. There's a big mall there. Okay, that is exactly 12 and a half miles away from about where I am here, Kapowsin. And then we've got Graham, so call it that's 8 miles. And then the Elk Plain sub-power, whatever it is probably 2 miles west of Graham. So all in all, you got 12. They're not hundreds of miles away. That's the bottom line here. So it does make sense. Maybe you've got a business somewhere right in the middle of there, and they just wanted to really cover their bases, and we're just going to knock power out to all these places. Again, a lot of effort to go to just robbing one place. What were you gonna steal? What was it? Was this a well-planned out effort, or was this kind of half-assed? Because it feels like half-assed. So they're going to be held in the Federal Detention Center in SeaTac. They're going to burglarize a nearby business. The outer chain link fence surrounding the Hemlock substation, which is run by Puget Sound Energy, was cut early on Christmas Day. A bank high side switch was tampered with, leading to an outage that affected about 8,000 users. The next target was the substation in Elk Plain. In order to enter the substation, padlocks on the pedestrian gates had to be removed. Once inside, high side breakers were altered, which resulted in an outage. The Graham substation was the scene of the third attack, which involved the manipulation of high side breakers and the cutting of a chain link fence. So I don't know what these guys did, but cutting a chain link fence definitely isn't $3 million worth, but it must be manipulation of the high side breakers, right? I mean, that's what it's got to be. I am no electrical engineer. I am barely a real estate guy. So the damage has to have been done when they flip those switches when something isn't lined up and something doesn't happen. If you're an engineer, Tell me how this works. What's the dealio? I don't know. All I know is $3 million in damages. Okay. All right. 7,500 consumers experienced power interruptions as a result of the $3 million in damage to those 2 power substations. Okay. According to the lawsuit, replacing both de-energizer taps for each affected transformer that has been damaged will take up to 36 months. So that's what it is. The affected transformer de-energizer taps. I don't even know. Not even close. I'm not even going to fake that, right? Not even going to take a poke at that. Fourth attack took place at the Puget Sound Energy. We're not even done with with all these attacks these guys did. Fourth attack took place at the Puget Sound Energy run Kapowsin substation later that evening. That's the furthest south one on December 20th. Why aren't these guys at home opening presents with their children? Right? Doing hot cocoa with their loved ones. You know? I don't know. They're criminals. I guess they're working on overtime. They figure that Santa is just doing his thing, flying overhead with the reindeer, and they're just off the grid. And literally, they're going to take the power off the grid. To obtain access, the chain link fence was cut, and this is at the Kapowsin one. The substation began to arc and spark after the suspects allegedly interfered with the high bank side switch and attempted to pry the linkage open. Okay, so they did some massive damage. It's going to take a long time to fix, and $3 million. That's insane. Greenwood admitted after being informed of his Miranda rights that he and Crahan had been preparing to disrupt power to commit a burglary. All right. What is the one thing you do after you've been arrested? I want my lawyer. I had that talk so many times with my children, my 2 boys growing up. What happens if a cop pulls you over? All right. It doesn't matter if you're in the wrong. I want my lawyer. That's what you do. Sorry to all the policemen out there. That's what you do, because there's stuff there that you don't have to give it out. Criminal activity like this, you hunker down and you let your lawyer, because that's your best bet of having things get accurately portrayed. Then you don't have to go through this. Well, he said, and then she said. You just shut up, lawyer up. That's what you do. I'm being pro-criminal right now, right? You lawyer up and let the system work itself out. And if you did the stuff that you did, then you got to explain it, figure it out. But you don't start babbling right after you've had your rights read to you. That's not the time. That's what authorities want you to do, because it makes their job easier, but it's not in your best interest. The best thing to do here is to not break in to 4 power stations. That's the best thing to do. Don't break any laws. And, that's what I'd always tell my kids too, is that, they're not going to pull you over if you're not doing anything wrong. It's like, that's weird. Cause and effect, right? You mean they won't pull me over? Yeah. Don't have your tabs out of date. Don't drive around with one headlight. Don't drive around with blinkers that don't work. It gives them a reason to pull you over. And if you're not doing anything wrong, you're not going to get pulled over. All right. What do my kids do? They just squeal every time they got in some kind of trouble. It's what you're going to do though, right? You get scared and you're like, maybe they'll go easy on me if I just start telling them exactly what I'm thinking right now. All that adrenaline going. Crahan is accused of going inside the 4th substation. After the Graham and South Hill attacks, the 2 went to a nearby company where Crahan drilled out a lock and Greenwood entered to steal from the cash register. This is all over one cash register. They spent all day. They spent like 12 hours, maybe it's 10 hours to do one cash register, to have a real secure security system. This was done while the electricity was off. That company is not mentioned in the complaint. I mean, just dumb criminals, right? So now you're facing a bunch of federal charges when if you would have just gone and broken into the store, dumb criminals, right? Dumb criminals. According to the FBI, the suspects' arrests were made possible by cell phone data identifying them at each of the 4 substations. Maybe use a walkie-talkie, guys. I don't know. Yeah. And security video showing one of the suspects in the getaway vehicle. According to the complaint, a short-barreled weapon with an illegal handmade silencer was discovered during a search warrant of the trailer where both men resided. Ugh. These guys sound like the 2 in Home Alone, right? Remember that? Joe Pesci and who was his sidekick? Somebody famous. I forget. Can't remember. Remember? They're stepping on thumbtacks. They were stepping on marbles. Just dumb criminals. And yeah, wild stuff. All right. That's about it for me on this one. But this whole story, it didn't make a lot of sense and it still doesn't. Right? But just from the standpoint of risk versus return, doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of what I read doesn't make any sense, does it? Yeah, we still cover it anyway because you need to know news for reasonable people. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.
Marv!
Harry?
Why the hell did you take your shoes off?
Why the hell you dressed like a chicken?